We are going to be looking at teams that have already had their rookie drafts, and we are also going to be looking at teams that are about to have theirs and trying to come up with some dynasty trades to make sure that you are set up in a way that we want to be going into this season. So, of course, first off, thank you for everybody hanging out with me here. Really do appreciate you. But the team that we need to be looking at right away is going to be from Z Millie. Says this league has been around for 2 years and we have won both of them, but I want to keep dominating the league. In my opinion, the bench is way too shallow for the amount of rookies I'm supposed to draft. So I want to trade all my picks to move up to the 102. I traded the 108 and Tua for Mahomes earlier. So I'll say, this being a super flex format, for you to trade the 108 and Patrick Mahomes, absolute no brainer. Like, we can go ahead, look at who you're going to get at the 108. Egbuka, Golden, Warren, Loveland, Caleb Johnson. You're around this range, right? Or RJ Harvey. You go ahead and you throw this into the trade calc. 108 and Tua versus Patrick Mahomes. This is an absolute no-brainer in favor of the Mahomes side. Trade calc says that you're absolutely robbing him. I would agree with that. And it looks like you've been robbing this league for quite some time, given the fact that if we're looking at your team with this league analyzer, you are absolutely dominating the rest of the field. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a deeper starting lineup. You do start up to 11 guys here if we have this correct. So very weird to see that this is a pretty shallow league when it comes to the amount of players you're able to put on your roster, but the amount of guys that you're actually able to get into your lineup is a decent amount, to be honest. But anyway, starting off a quarterback, we're rolling with Allen, Mahomes, Kyler. So great spot, perfect spot to be in. We can be dominant both in the short and long term. Nothing to discuss at quarterback. We're very happy with how we stand. Going over to running back, we have Gibbs, Bucky, Montgomery, Roshan, Ray Davis. So I would say running back room's extremely strong. Both Gibbs and Bucky being drafted as RB1s. Like, we can go ahead and pull this up on the site. But if you look at Jahmyr Gibbs through the first 2 years of his NFL career, you're sitting with a running back that dropped 362 points this past season, 242. We go over and we look at Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving as a rookie finishes as the RB13, but obviously a lot of this production was in the second half of the season. And if we look after week 9, he was the RB7, the RB3, the RB1, 51, 18, 16, 5, and 9. So 2 dominant running backs at the top. Montgomery's going to be able to help us contend in the short term. But in terms of maybe a small question mark with this team, you could use another guy, right? Like, it's not going to hurt you whatsoever to be bringing in another running back for this squad, especially in a start 11 format. Going over to receiver, we have Puka, JSN, Addison, Smith, Olave. So we have 5 strong receivers, maybe Hollywood, Joshua Palmer. I mean, they're in good offenses with Allen and Mahomes as their quarterback, so possibly they move the needle just slightly. But overall here, I'd say at wide receiver, we are dominant, best team in the league, but we could use to add an extra name in a start 11 format. And then going over to tight ends, this is going to be a premium league where we have McBride, and obviously we want to keep building around McBride. You are a contending roster here. And we have Jonnu as a strong tight end too. And if you actually look at underdog drafts right now, Jonnu is getting drafted as a tight end 1 for this season. We can go ahead and look at where he is at in terms of the end of last year. And Jonnu Smith finishes as, starting in week 11, the tight end 2, 2, 4, 7, 1, 9, 14, 3. So obviously an extremely strong stretch here. Looking at the efficiency, 2.37 yards per route run, which is the best mark that we've seen pretty much through Jonnu's entire career. And one quick side note is, just in case you haven't seen my guy, we did actually improve the amount of years and statistics that you're able to see with these players on the rankings page. So whenever you're wanting to just go through and look at any guys, I know you're a member of the site, so you have absolutely everything, but this is even free for non-members of the site. You can go through and check this stuff out on the rankings page. But anyway, let's move this back. So as it stands, we are the strongest team in the league by far, primarily because of quarterback, but running back, wide receiver, tight end, all very strong as well. The league analyzer says we are top 3 in every single position. And then we have 2 first-round picks this year. We have all our future picks. So if you were to sit and pick with how we stand right now, Picks 10 and 12 are going to be a little bit tough. Picks 10 and 12, you're looking at like Tyler Warren Loveland. Tyler Warren, Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey. Matthew Golden, Jackson Dart. Like, you're obviously, we're never taking Dart here ourselves. Maybe Luther Burden sneaks up in your league. But regardless, you are outside of this tier of the top 7 guys. So I'd be completely fine if you wanted to stick and pick. Maybe at 10, you grab Igbuka. Maybe at 12, you grab Caleb Johnson. You grab RJ Harvey. You add in a running back. You add in a wide receiver. Depth, perfectly solved. No questions asked. We're golden. So I think you can go down that path, but honestly, I would be completely fine if you wanted to make a trade up as well, just because, again, you're already discussing, we don't have a ton of roster space on this team. We have 4 rookie picks. If we had to cut 4 guys here, Zamir White's an easy cut. Javon Baker's an easy cut. But then we're cutting probably like Mike Williams and I don't really want to cut Palmer, Hollywood, Watson, Roschon, maybe, or Noah Gray. Maybe we would cut Watson out of that. But still, we maybe don't want to make all these picks. We don't want to draft everybody here. So if you were making that trade, I know you said you wanted to potentially trade all your rookie picks and go out there and grab the 102. In my mind, I don't necessarily know if we need to be getting pick 2. Obviously, pick 2, we could bring in Hampton, which would be very exciting. But as long as you get a top 4 pick, you can get Hampton, Hunter, or McMillan, all of whom I think absolutely crush for this team. So let's try to sell pick 10, pick 12, the 310, the 312, and let's go send it for the 102. I'm all for that. But then if that gets rejected, I'm completely fine with you sending the same offer for the 103. I'm completely fine with you sending maybe the same offer for the 104, especially if we can maybe get back like the 204 as well. Just because, again, you are an absolute juggernaut. You are an extremely heavy favorite to win this league. One other possibility that we could do is if you wanted to pivot off and say sell that 110 and pick up a 2026 first and second rounder. If you wanted to sell your 112 and pick up a 2026 first, I think that could give you a lot of flexibility to make moves during the season just in case you get an injury and you need to go through and trade for an extra running back or trade for an extra tight end or trade for an extra wide receiver during the season that maybe we couldn't predict right now because we don't know who's going to get injured and who's going to stay healthy on your roster. So I agree. I think all 3 paths are completely fine. If you want to stick and pick, I probably wouldn't be taking a tight end. I probably wouldn't take Loveland. I probably wouldn't take Warren. Maybe I'd go with like Igbuka and Caleb Johnson or Matthew Golden and RJ Harvey, whoever it may be. Definitely you were not taking Jackson Dart with this team. Or if you wanted to package these picks up and try to get a top 3 to 4 selection so we can get inside that tier of Hunter, McMillan, and then obviously if you get Hampton at 2, that'd be great. Or if you wanted to pivot off and sell these picks for 2026 futures, I'd also be fine with that. So overall, you're the best team in the league by far. You have a lot of optionality. I almost think you just go with wherever the value is going to be best. But really do appreciate you, my guy. And again, I know you've been with us forever. Super happy that we've been crushing your league mates this long now. And hopefully you're able to do it this next season. But I'm imagining it's probably going to be an easy thing when you're already going through and making these deals for Mahomes. But again, really do appreciate you. Thank you for sticking with me for so long now and hope I was able to help you out in some way. Now let's move this over to Big T's next question. And real quick, I want to say Turtle and Ethan, if y'all are seeing this at any point, please message me back on the site. I'd be super happy to look at your teams. I'm just waiting for you to get me your sleeper league ID. That way I can check out all the teams in your league. But anyway, this is from Big T. It says, we also have an additional 2027 first. Really looking for advice at the 103, 104. And we're planning on running backs at the 303 and 401. So really do appreciate you, my guy. Let me hook you up with a free trade question just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up on. But our team here is bye week. We are currently the number 10 team in the league analyzer. This is a Superflex 12-team start 9 half PPR tight end premium format. So this is a league in which the depth does not matter much, specifically the depth at wide receiver. If it's a start 9 Superflex format, that means that we are only going to be starting 6 total running backs and wide receivers weekly. If you are able to get 2 elite level quarterbacks, you are going to be absolutely crushing. Now, with that in mind, we are at this point a team that more likely than not is going to be a rebuilder and probably not, probably not a team that should be even thinking about contending this season. Because let's go best case scenario here. Best case scenario, you're playing in a league which somebody thinks they can take Travis Hunter at pick 2. We get Hampton at pick 3. We get Hampton at 3. We get McMillan at 4. Best case scenario, Hampton's a running back 1 immediately. McMillan's a wide receiver 1 immediately. Even in that best case scenario, we still are going into the season with Russell Wilson as our second quarterback, Blake Corum as our second running back, and Hunter Henry is our top tight end. So even if the best case scenario plays out, we're still not winning this league. Now, the saving grace of this team is we have our own 2026 first. So we can put ourselves in a position in which we can earn the 101 next year. Not only do we have our own 2026 first, but we have 2 other additional ones. And then you said you had the additional pick in 2027. So I think that you are in a really strong position to most likely, be one of the top teams in this league in 2026 if we play our cards right. And if our goal is be one of the best teams in this league in 2026, what we should be doing is identifying every asset on our roster, not that will fall off in production over the next 12 months, but instead will lose value over the next 12 months. Because it's going to be much easier to project who will be worth more or less rather than how the production is going to be going over the next few years. CJ Stroud would be very difficult to say we know this quarterback's going to be worth less 12 months from now. I think there's a wide range of outcomes. There is a possibility in which CJ Stroud does go back to what he was like his rookie season, especially with the additional wide receiver talent coming in. And all of a sudden, CJ Stroud's viewed as a borderline top 6 quarterback in Dynasty next offseason. That is in the range of outcomes. And for that reason, I would say we can label CJ Stroud as a long-term piece that we are completely fine building around, specifically with a rebuilding team. Going over to running back, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Estime, Marshawn Lloyd, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler. We have no reason to believe that any one of these running backs will be worth more 12 months from now than they are today. But at the same time, if you were to go through and try to sell any of these running backs, you're not getting anything for them. Now, of course, the second that Nick Chubb would potentially sign to the Chicago Bears, if you could somehow, some way, by the grace of God, sell him for a 2026 second-round pick, you would do so in a heartbeat. But the realistic situation is you're probably just going into the season with these guys as is. If you end up getting an injury to Devon Achane and we can sell Jalen Wright for a second-round pick at that point, then yeah, we'll go ahead and we will flip him. No harm, no foul. Would be a super easy transition. Going over to receiver, Drake London going into year 4 of his NFL career. Like at this point, you would say maybe London is the profile, not inherently of somebody that's going to be losing value as time goes on, but it may be difficult for him to continue to gain. However, if you actually look at Drake London when it comes to his age, he's still a very young wide receiver for him to be going into his 4th NFL season. Like Drake London is younger than RJ Harvey. Drake London's not going to be 24 for another few months. So in my opinion, on a rebuilding team, London is actually somebody that we can continue to view as a cornerstone asset, and London has it in the range of outcomes to continue to get better as time goes on. Now, Chris Olave is going to be 25 next month, so we know next offseason Olave is going to be a 26-year-old player. So unless you think Olave is just criminally undervalued at this point, Olave would be somebody that I'm completely fine throwing on the trade block. If you can sell Olave for a 2026 first and second round pick, 2 assets that we know will continue to gain value, it's an absolute no-brainer, especially knowing that if we get Olave off our own roster, we'll put ourselves in a situation in which, I don't know, we're able to, guarantee yourself the 101 next year, guarantee yourself the 102 next year. Going over, looking at the tight ends, again, similar to what I'm saying with the running backs, and that if we could somehow bamboozle one of our league mates to actually give us something for any of these RBs, we would. But what it would take is it would take probably an injury. It would take a news blurb for any of these running backs to fetch any type of realistic value in trade. You're just going to be stuck with them on your roster as is. It's kind of the same thing with the tight ends, right? You're not going to be able to go out there and sell Hunter Henry for a future second at this point. What you would need is you need a Hunter Henry through the first month of the season to be a top 5 tight end. And then maybe at that point we can look to offload him for a second. So really the only piece that I think you could potentially be selling on your roster as it stands right now is going to be Chris Olave. Nobody's giving anything for Russ. Nobody's giving anything for the running backs. Nobody's giving anything for the tight ends. Quentin Johnston, Adonai Mitchell, Tank Dell, all these 3 receivers can continue to gain value over the next 12 months. I would say Olave is the one guy that I'm going to be throwing on the block now. If you can get that future first, I'm game. Let's get the asset that's going to guarantee to accrue in value. If your league mates are going to play hardball, they're not going to give you that pick. Then instead, I think you just hold on to him. It's not like you need to panic sell him for a second rounder because, again, it is in the range of outcomes that Chris Olave does actually increase in his dynasty value over the next 12 months, even if it's not the most likely outcome. And looking at what we're going to do with these rookie picks, obviously 303, 401, 411, really, you just go best player available. It's not going to make too much of a difference almost regardless. Take whoever you want. 103, 104, you're going to be in a range in which I think we are going to be looking at the receivers with Hunter and McMillan. I know a lot of people have been pushing to have Henderson maybe over McMillan. If you are a true rebuilding roster, to be honest with you, especially knowing that this is a league where you don't need to go super deep with running backs, a league where you don't need to go super deep with wide receivers, and quarterback's going to be very important. With this 104, I'm completely fine if you wanted to take Cam Ward. Specifically because this is a super flex start 9 half PPR non-tight end premium format. Quarterback's going to make up a high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. Long term, we only have CJ Stroud with how things sit at the moment. So 103, if you get Hampton, obviously we take Hampton very easily. 104, if you wanted to go with whoever's left over between McMillan or Hunter, you can do that. Or if you wanted to go Henderson, you can do that. But honestly, based off your current situation with this roster and these league settings, I would honestly probably prefer just taking Cam Ward, calling it a day with an asset that should be very safe in terms of his value going into next offseason. But I think that's all I got for you. Again, I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. And yeah, I think it's a straightforward team. I think you're going to be a lot better in the future. We have the 2026 first. We also have the additional 2027 first, so that should help a bunch as well. But I think that's all we have. Definitely do not try to force it and do not try to make this a contending team because I think you are too far away. I think things are too centered around specifically what you have when it comes to the future picks with the value on your team. But let me move this over. And of course, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. And if you have not done so already, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to be able to come out and hang out with us in these live streams. And maybe we can answer some questions in the chat in just 1 second, but I definitely want to make sure that we are getting to as many of these teams as humanly possible because I'm not going to be able to go live tomorrow. So I want to make sure that we can get all of them. Now, Adil coming through says, please let me know if there are any trades that you think we should do. I had 5 picks in the last draft. 103 Hampton, 105 Henderson, 203 Caleb, 207 Igbook. What the hell were your league mates doing? I guess it's a 10-team league, but Igbuka 207 is insane. Also, if I don't trade, who should my starting running backs be? Should I look to trade a wide receiver and rookie running back for a better receiver? London and Caleb for Puka. So this is a very shallow format. This is going to be a 10-team start 9 PPR Superflex league. So this is a league in which you only start a total of 6 running backs and receivers. Since there are only 10 teams in this league as well, you only have 60 total starters across the entire league, running back and receiver, assuming that there are no tight ends in the flex, which may be a safe assumption given the fact that this is a non-tight end premium format. But pulling up your roster here, 2 interesting things to note. 1, according to my rankings with the League Analyzer, we do have the best team in the league. And 2, with that as well, we are in a spot where we don't have our own 2026 first. So since we don't have our own 2026 first, you are highly incentivized to go through and try to contend this season. Now, with that being said, team looks great. Looks like we can contend. I would like to make some moves, though. Now, it's a super flex league. We have Josh Allen and Kyler Murray at quarterback. So obviously, super pumped to see what we have at QB. There's not too much to discuss here. Now, I would like to get a third quarterback if possible. But the thing is, it's going to be a 10-team league. So if we were to get an injury to Allen, if you were to get an injury to Kyler, it would be very reasonable for us to go through and trade for a third quarterback. Like, quarterbacks should be easy to come by in this league in particular. Let's go through and see what's on the waiver wire. Like, you can maybe even pick up Joe Flacco off the waiver wire right now. So, like, you can maybe even pick up Mason Rudolph off the waiver wire. I will say I'd probably drop Smith and pick up Roshan myself right now. But yeah, this is a super shallow format, right? So quarterbacks should be relatively easy to come by if we needed a depth fill-in, but ultimately you're probably in a fine spot considering the fact that we have 2 top-end level assets. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, we are sitting with Hampton, Henderson, both of whom I have ranked as top 10 running backs in Dynasty. Obviously, we are looking more so for these guys with the long-term value that they are going to provide in terms of expecting them to both be running back ones in 10-team formats day one. Probably not happening. We have a lot of depth. We have Caleb Johnson. We have Pacheco. We have Tootin. We have Benson. We have Najee. But I would really like to see if we could make that 2-for-1 deal to upgrade at running back. Because going over to receiver, we have 6 startable guys. We have London, JSN, Harrison, Rice, Igbuka, Waddle. Tight end, we have Bowers, so we have the elite name. But again, going back to your format in particular, this is a league in which you only start 6 total running backs and receivers. I love that in your league format, we have the bookends, elite quarterbacks and elite tight ends. Perfect. All we have to do now in my mind is start consolidating some of these running backs and receivers. Because we have Hampton, Henderson, Caleb, Pacheco. So 4 startable running backs. London, JSN, Harrison, Rice, Igbuka, Waddle. We have a total of like 10 startable running backs and wide receivers with how things stand right now, but maybe we don't have the true elite level production for this next season. So if you were looking to make a move, I think it's a very clear one, and we are a contending team that the depth doesn't matter much. We are looking for the top end upside. So in my mind, the easiest trade is we take Igbuka, someone that you got at an insane discount in your rookie draft. I applaud you for the pick. Amazing. We package him with Caleb Johnson. Let's go get a running back upgrade. Let's go try to target one of these teams near here at the bottom that maybe is instead pivoting over to a rebuild. So looking at this roster here, Luther Burden's their wide receiver 2. Likely, Kelsey, maybe this team is ready to shut this down. And is there a world in which we can take Igbuka, we can take Caleb Johnson, and we can go through and make a trade for a win now piece like Barkley? How far off are we? Trade calculator saying this is a fair deal. Again, you're in a shallower format, so I would love to get the best piece here if possible. And I'd be willing to add another guy into this. I'd be willing to just go ahead and throw them the third rookie, throw them Tootin as well, if that's going to get this done. Like, even if it's saying that we lose this trade, I think you are in such a strong spot to contend. This is a league where you have so much depth where it's not necessarily needed, where if we bring in Barkley, we go into the season, trading Igbuka does nothing to our wide receiver core. We still have London, JSN, Harrison, Rice, Waddle. And then at running back, we have Barkley, Hampton, Henderson, Pacheco, Benson, Najee. We still have plenty of depth and the top end upside. I would love to go through and make that move. We can find another team that potentially would consider rebuilding. This team that has Taylor and Jacobs. Like, let's see what the deal would look like here. If you wanted to send the trio of rookies, we're probably needing to throw another guy into this. But again, you also if you're making 2-for-1, 3-for-2, or 3-for-1 deals, you can run over to the waiver wire and very easily pick up Roschon Johnson for free, pick up Jalen Noel for free, and actually have some exciting players coming onto your team. So like if you needed to throw in another long-term piece that's maybe not going to give much value in the short term here, like hell, throw in Jonathan Brooks, throw in Devin Neal, throw in this crap that's, again, maybe a rebuilding team could talk themselves into, but the main pieces we're selling obviously are Caleb Johnson and Igbuka. That'd be very interesting. One thing that I would consider as is, outside of making those 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals where we're trying to get improvements inside the starting lineup, particularly at running back by selling depth in this kind of format, is I think you can go out there and make some waiver wire pivots right now. Like I have Roschon ranked ahead of Smith. Jalen Noel, if you wanted to drop Devin Neal to grab him, I'd be fine doing so as well. I think that those are two clear moves. But again, we don't have our own 2026 first. So in my opinion, I think you are highly incentivized to sell some of these depth options to rebuilding teams to see if we can get in the top veteran producer, specifically for the purpose of helping us contend right now and maybe giving them the long-term value. But looking at other deals like London and Caleb for Puka, my issue is, well, I don't hate the idea of making those 2-for-1 deals like I already discussed. I think that's the ideal. What's stopping us from maybe winning this league this year is not going to be our wide receiver production. I think it'll be our running back production, even if I love your running backs in the long term. So those 2-for-1 deals, instead of trying to go get the upgraded like Puka Nacua, I'd probably rather be trying to go get the upgrade at running back if possible. But really do appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock, my friend. Now, let's go ahead and move this over for RJ Soccer. Massive dono here. My guy, really do appreciate you. Let me hook you up with a couple free trade questions and start set questions as well, just in case you want to follow up with anything here. But you're saying you traded Kyron for Rice and a first. If I'm looking at that correctly, you made out like an absolute bandit. The first became the 102. Don't know what to do with my picks. We got third 2 years in a row. Okay, so a couple different things I want to discuss real quick. We are going to be this DK Metcalf's team. There's a group of about 5 teams in this league that are actually looking like they are contenders. And then we have a pretty significant drop-off to everybody else in this league. It's the first thing I want to point out. Second thing I want to point out is there are 14 teams in this league. So we need to make sure that we are, like, in our minds, lowering the bar for what a running back 1 is. Lowering the bar for what a wide receiver 1 is. Same thing for running back 2, same thing for wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, etc., etc. Because for you to be a wide receiver 3 in a 10-team league, you have to be a top 30 guy. For you to be a wide receiver 3 in a 14-team format, you have to be a top 42 name. So definitely very, very different as we look at this. Now, with that being said, the starting lineup requirements themselves are very thin. This is going to be a 1 quarterback, start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. It's a start 7, 1 quarterback, non-tight end premium league. So wide receiver depth, not super important. Running back depth, not super important. Having an elite quarterback will make a pretty big difference. So it is sad to see that we do have the worst quarterback room in this league. That's going to be by far and away the thing holding this roster back, in my opinion. Now, you can get away in a 1 quarterback format to have an absolute garbage quarterback room if it's a start 10 league, if it's a start 11 league, where you are just going through and you are just constantly plugging in a ridiculous amount of running backs and wide receivers because their quarterback's going to make up a small percentage of your starting lineup output anyway. However, the issue in this instance is going to be that you can only start up to 5 running backs and receivers. So if that's it, quarterback's going to make up a high percentage of our starting lineup output. So if we're getting our butts kicked by us having to just go through and throw Geno Smith in, we are highly incentivized to go through and try to upgrade quarterback if we can. Now, looking at running back, I am surprised to say that the league analyzer is saying we don't have the strongest running back room in this league, because we are in a really strong spot with Gibbs, Chase Brown, Henry. 3 top 14 running backs for this next season. 3 absolute studs. Again, we look at this a lot with like the underdog drafts that we've been doing, but you can just go over and you can pull up the stats that we have with like Chase Brown in the second half of the year. You look at Chase Brown after Zach Moss goes down, you get the RB4, 3, 8, 9, 5, 4, 22, 13 finishes. Every single week from week 9 onwards, the man ends up seeing at least 80% of the snaps in Cincinnati. When we have the 102 here, we are going to be adding in Hampton on almost any team. Especially any team that is a contending roster, which I'd make the argument we should be a contender, right? Like, I mean, it would be very surprising if we weren't. So looking at wide receiver, we have 3 very strong names with London, AJ Brown, Rashee Rice. Michael Pittman's a great example of like wide receiver 4 in a 10-team league. I don't know about, but wide receiver 4 in a 14-team format, great depth piece. So wide receiver, we're loaded. Going over and looking at tight ends, we have Laporta, so we're loaded there. So across the board, this is an insane team, and it's only going to get better as we add Hampton in at the 102. So what I'm probably wanting to do is, if we can, that 111, I wouldn't mind sending it for a quarterback if possible. Now, of course, it's going to be difficult for me to gauge the value of quarterback in your 14-team one quarterback league. Like, it is very much like a standard market when you're looking at 12-team Superflex leagues. 12-team Superflex leagues, quarterback's not going to be super different from league to league. However, I found in these one quarterback formats, some people will act as if it's still a super flex league with how they value the position, and other leagues will act as if they're completely useless. So if I'm looking at teams that we are maybe trying to send the 111 for a quarterback, we're going to be targeting the teams that are clear rebuilders. In my opinion, looking at this team, Seth, if we could send them the 111 for Bo Nix, I would absolutely love to do so. And keep in mind, we can pull up what a rookie in the 111 range of a one quarterback format looks like. There you're looking at like Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, Luther Burden, Tyler Warren, Loveland, somebody in that range. So let's put a name to the face, Caleb Johnson. We're effectively selling Caleb Johnson for one of these quarterbacks, right? If you wanted to sell the 111 for Bo Nix, I'm game. If you could sell the 111, the 311 and go get Caleb Williams, 100% would love to do so. Let's go through and move this over. This team is Herbert and Love. Maybe sending the 111 and giving them Geno Smith and getting back Herbert. This team is Burrow and Kyler. Maybe sending the 111 and getting back Kyler Murray. This team sitting with May, Lawrence, and Michael Penix. If we can go out there and send the 111 and one of our quarterbacks and get to May, that's mainly what I'm going to be trying to do with this roster, especially as we look at your running back room. Your running back room's already loaded as is. We're taking Hampton at the 102. So 111, are we really excited to take Caleb Johnson? Are we really excited to take RJ Harvey? It's a league in which you only can start 2 receivers in a flex anyway, so does it really make a difference for us to go through and draft Luther Burden? I think I would just love to go and send 6 different offers to those teams that have an extra quarterback. Expect the majority of them to get rejected and see if we get any bites, whether that's with the Caleb team, whether that's with the Bo Nix team, whether that's with the Herbert team, whether it's with the May team, whoever it may be. As long as we can get somebody interested in sending us a quarterback for that pick, even if it means we need to go through, send them back one of our quarterbacks so they have the security, even if it means we need to go through and send them our third, just almost doing anything that we can. But outside of that, you obviously have an absolutely phenomenal roster where there's not too much else that we can't discuss here. I mean, if you whiff on all those trades where nobody is willing to send you a Justin Herbert level player for that 111, maybe instead just looking at taking Cam Ward there. But again, with you being a strong contending roster, my default would be I'd rather sell that pick, have somebody else take like Caleb Johnson, take RJ Harvey, and we just get a quarterback in a 1 QB format. But I think that's all I got for you. And again, really do appreciate you here, my friend. But let's move this over. I think these other teams we will probably get back to in a different live stream. We actually have X-Ray coming with a trade question in this stream saying, we are receiving an early to mid future first, Marvin Harrison and Hawkinson versus Bowers a second and Ben Sinnott. X-Ray, if you're here, please correct me if I'm wrong with this. I will say, general rule of thumb, looks like it's a very strong trade offer out the gate, especially if you do think that that future first should be early. But it all comes down to, are we really excited to move Bowers? Because Ben Sinnott's almost useless for me at this point. I'm not even going to include Ben Sinnott into this deal with the trade calculator. Jordan says we get a 2027 first instead. Getting the 2027 first may make things a little bit tougher. Let me know if we are a contender here. I know people are excited about the 2027 first in comparison. So the thing is, we are a contending team very easily. We have Puka, we have London, we have Gibbs, we have CMC, we have Kyron, we have Marvin, we have Hawkinson. So I think you're getting enough value with this. My hesitation is, does this... Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong team. Looking at our team. Okay, you're right. We are not a contender. So if you are not a contender, I'm actually fine going through and taking the Harrison future first and Hawkinson side. But if you're not a contender, I do think we probably want to follow up and see if we could, in that case, get a decent amount of value for TJ Hawkinson. But I really appreciate everybody hanging out with me here. Of course, we'll say a couple different things. One, just in case you're all not already in the Discord, made a bunch of different announcements regarding all the updates the devs have been pushing out over the past few weeks. So if you wanted to go look at all the updates that are on the site, they're all in the Discord. Essentially a bunch of improvements to the mock draft stuff, improvements to like all the stat lines that we have for these players out here. Like you can go through, goes back much further than it used to. At the same time, we added stuff like interceptions, passing touchdowns for quarterbacks. Obviously, we have all the advanced stuff like adjusted yards per pass attempts inside the 5-yard line, carries inside the 5-yard line, the whole 9 yards. So all these like stats are free for everybody on flockfantasy.com if y'all want. We added it going way back for everybody. We improved a bunch of the mock draft stuff. So if you ever wanted to go get in a free public mock draft on flockfantasy.com, that experience should be a little bit better. It's going to continuously get a little bit better over and over and over again. I think through the first like 10 days or so that this has been out, there are like 6,000 drafts completed. So thank you for everybody that's been taking advantage of those and giving me your feedback on how we can improve them for y'all. But But let me think if there's anything else that's gotten done. I can just pull up the dev updates real quick. That's everything that needs to get done. Sign out issue, teams, data in 2018, adding stats, reversing the year on the player cards, verification modal. Yeah, all this stuff's been done over the last 14 weeks. So should see a bunch of improvements to the mock drafts for y'all over there on the site. Should see a bunch of improvements when you're looking at those player stats on the site as well, on both of which are completely free. So of course, go check out flockfantasy.com whenever y'all want that. But appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Really hope I was able to help you out, and really hope we get to see you out in a live stream probably Monday.